Hard cut, again. I really love doing that. I'm pretty sure everything is set up right. Been a while since I streamed, but hello and welcome. Very excited to be here. So, long story short, I made a thing which will lead to a thing leading to a thing, just like I say in the thing that I made. An infinite series of events unfolding as a consequence of the last 5 years of my life, during which I created a multiverse and more. And a story that I would love to share with people, would love to share more often and more frequently. So I made myself a little video of myself playing a character known as the Curator, existing in the meta multiverse, inviting you, the audience, to witness a story. The story of the multiverse of Aether, the campaign that I created for my friends and then for a bunch of random people on the internet, some of who became my friends. And now I'm remaking it to share with everyone else. Really excited about that, actually. Kind of nervous at the same time, but we'll see how it goes along the way. I've got some cool shots here that I set up. I have an extra camera that I made specifically to show you my synthesizer. Although apparently the camera shifted a little bit. I can fix this though. That's no problem. Maybe? I'll just bring this down. There you go. Well, that solves it. Anyway, I have my synthesizer I'll be telling you all about while I compose the score for this video that I made. So probably a good way to start would be to show you the video that I made. This is episode 0 of the Aether series. It's really funny and pretty wild. I have edited the audio quite a bit. I was just talking to a phone, which was several feet away from me, so it took a while. It sounds a little weird, but I think it's good enough for now, at least. So how about I let me tell you about what I'm doing. This is me looking all happy and smiley. So this is the video that I made. And you'll have to let me know if you can hear everything that goes on within it. Pretty sure I set it up. I've tested it and everything. So just keep me updated if you can. Keep looking at the wrong camera. All right, here we go. You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is... Well, it looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta multiverse, the space between everything, where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason. How to put it? I don't usually intervene in the stories that fill this space. But there was something about yours that I thought was very special. I thought it was very interesting. You exist in a world plagued by doubt and corruption and fear, where imaginations are used to tear you down, to make the future seem impossible. Your imagination is limitless. Your imagination determines your reality, determines what's possible. So I figured I'd bring you here and show you a story that you might like. It's set in a world very similar to your own, though perhaps a little more in line with fantasy, where you're from. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I love this part, my little blue jeans that it made up. The space between the stars. This is the stage upon which your story is told. Although it may seem to be in a much smaller context for you, the little window, the drop in the ocean, or so you think. Being an ocean within an ocean within an ocean of oceans. The reason I brought you here is to show you the multiverse of Aether. You might have heard of it. More likely than not, you haven't. The multiverse of Aether is a world seemingly designed for people to come into their power, to realize that their imagination directly impacts reality. It changes the course of history. We're going to follow a few characters that hopefully you'll come to enjoy. But they find themselves on a bit of a quest. A chance encounter leading to something, leading to something, leading to something, leading to something else. And it keeps on going. Did you know the story of these adventurers is infinite? They make their way here, too, in a very different way to the way that you have. You're here by invitation. Quite the rarity. But they find themselves here along the path they choose to take. In the beginning, they have a lot to learn, but as they go on, they figure it out. They realize that they do have the power to define their realities. Something inherent, baked into the very nature of consciousness itself, the very nature of you. But their world is in the midst of growing dissonance, plagued by corruption and doubt and fear, just like yours. But they find good vibes, as they come to call it, and they use that to counter the dissonance, to soothe it, to understand it, to explore it, to save their world from collapse. And while they have spells and swords, and I'm sure they'll come across very many other things along the way, they use the same thing that you have access to. The same things: hope, optimism, love. But very naturally, this journey will evolve as it continues, as it builds upon itself, as it shows you the power that you possess as well, potentially infinitely. And I'm sure you'll find a way to help it. Because it won't be possible without a little help, just like everything else we do. And there are ways. The creator of this, the meta multiverse, me, the multiverse of Aether, they have ways for you to support them. And I know they would be very grateful for the help. But I hope you come to understand that the fabric of reality, the details, the ideas, the concepts, the beings that tie it all together to make this communication between us possible, I hope you realize it is inherently benevolent. It wants to see you succeed. It wants to see our adventurers succeed together. Now, I am just a character among many others. My role is very unique, and I hope to see you when the adventurers see me for the first time. I hope you're there. But in the meantime, why don't we take a closer look at the multiverse of Aether? Before you go, just real quick, thank you for existing, truly. And there you go. That's the video. Let's see here. Now, of course, I have set things up for me, the present me, to come up with music for that, and that's what we're doing today. So that should be really fun. Quick overview of things that I want to do to support this video and this message. One is going to be, where does it look good? Right here. One is going to be over at the very beginning. You might have noticed something very strange happening when I was talking. You may be... Oh, that happened. Sorry about that. I had an idea for that very thing. Unusual and unexpected, I imagine. Somebody starts talking to you from their living room couch, and then reality melts and they apologize. I figured at that point it might be good to say something, to include some words, a message, some insight, something strange, something that might occur as a consequence of looking into the eye of the curator in the meta multiverse. Now, that's something that I want to work on. So I've been coming up with ideas. Let's see if you all have any recommendations, and see if I have any as well. That would be very helpful. I want to do that, and then I also want to add some different effects to key points in the series. You are now standing in the meta multiverse. Like that right there, that part specifically. For example, we could do, I just want to play around with this real quick. I'm just going to do whatever I think of in the moment. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the messages you sent me. I see Mac Attack 1429 said exclamation points, probably at some point during the video. I don't know which point, but yes, exclamation points. Do I remember? Okay. It's been a while since I used Logic like this. I'm trying to remember the controls. Now standing in the meta multiverse. There we go. So now we can zoom in here, make sure we cut it off before the next audio picks up. And then I'm just going to do something really silly. I'm going to pull it into this separate track here directly down, so the timing is exactly the same. The settings are exactly the same, so after doing this, it should sound no different. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I need to duplicate this, don't I? All right, let's duplicate that. Where did they put the duplicate button? I don't know. This is an easy way to do it, though. I actually need to save this, so we're going to save this channel strip setting. Noisy voice. That's what I'll call it. Noisy voice. Which is great, because then we can go over here, just hit that button, and it's all copied over. So now it should sound exactly the same. Appearance here. You are now standing in the meta multiverse. The space between everything. Yep, no different. So that's good. It's a little weird, because I had to do a lot of fancy things to get it to sound right. If we go back to the first words of the curator, right here in the beginning, and I turn off all of these fancy things that I did to make it sound better. You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Depending on what you're listening on, you might have heard there's a lot of noise in the background, which I took forever researching this and trying to find a good solution. And it's really funny what you'll find on the internet. They're like, okay, so cut out the space in between the words. And then they'll usually say, well, if you have the noise present behind what you're recording, behind what you want to have, then that's a whole different thing. That's really hard. Just go buy something that'll do that. So I ended up encountering the audio unit, the sound isolation, which basically just isolated the voice for me and cut out a lot of that sound. So you've arrived. That sounds like it sounds like my apartment is not struggling to continue working, which is great. That's exactly what I was hoping for. All right, so we have this beginning, and I'm going to show you just like real quick ridiculous things that we could do. It's super easy too. We can go on here to the channel strip, and we can add one of these effects, like reverb, for example. We can go to Space Designer, Stereo. They have some funky spaces in here, but if we go to large spaces, outdoor spaces, something called upper echelons. Yeah, this is probably going to sound ridiculous. Let's see what it sounds like. By its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta multiverse, the space between everything. That sounds funky. I like that. We are going to have to change it a little bit, though. You can make the size even bigger. That's crazy. How about this? You are now standing in the meta multiverse, space between... That is absolutely crazy. I might have to reduce the size the length, reduce the wet signal, and then try it again. By its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta-multiverse, the space between everything, where all reality... You are now standing in the meta-multiverse. Yeah, funny things like that we can do. I'm just going to leave that there. That was an idea I had. We'll play around with it, see if I like it. But in the meantime, let me show you the other stuff that I set up for this stream. My friend Mac Attack said, sounds like I'm falling into a black hole. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going for. For those of you who are very familiar with video games, you might recognize some of the backgrounds that I used. I'm going to bring this over here so I can see it better. Some of the backgrounds I used, I took just ambient images, like location recordings from, for example, over here was at the Unity in Starfield. It's the background there. I really enjoy that game. I thought that one was incredible. The spaces they make are pretty wild. But I got that one, and then for the bulk of everything, I got scenes from the Oblivion remaster. So that's out in Skingrad, I think. One of the places there. It's in the lore of the actual series. It's the Divide in the town of Sora, if you know anything about that. But we have our characters here too. They're pretty fun. We've got Dorian Spiccato. I gave them all music names. So we got Dorian Spiccato, who is a druid from out in the forest, new to the city, but came here looking for help. You can see they have a fake coonskin hat, but in the lore it's real. It's actually their pet raccoon, who died for some reason. I haven't figured that out. But Dorian turned it into a hat and learned a spell to be able to talk to him. So that's what he's doing there, is having a conversation with his hat. He's in the city to try to find a wizard who can help him reincarnate his pet raccoon. Then we have a wizard. Crescendo Cadenza is their name. They're like a mercenary, a battle mage. My friend Raven said, "Speak with dead animals." Yeah, that's the spell. That's what Dorian learned. So that he could talk to his pet. Nobody else can hear the raccoon though, not yet. Somebody will be able to. We'll get to that point, I'm sure. But Crescendo is known for being a very capable person who's got their life together. Then we have Jake, who does not have a last name. When he was imprisoned and processed, he was required to have a last name, and he simply said no thank you. So his name is Jake No Thank You. That's his name. Definitely inspired by my conversations with my friend Jake. This guy is absolutely wild. You can see he's meditating here. With the multiverse itself in the meta multiverse as the background of his meditation. Absolutely wild character. I'll have to pull up the script and read some of the lines that I have prepared. I got the first 3 episodes. This is episode 1, technically. It's episode 0 because the story hasn't started yet. And then we have Aria Melody, who's a bard, very much deeply entrenched in the capitalist paradigm and burnt out from all the work she's had to do. So she's looking for a way to work less and get paid more so that she's not so burnt out and miserable all the time. And that's when she starts adventuring with the other ones. Jake just shows up because the fabric of reality asked him to. And so he did. And then, yeah, that's their motivations. They all end up meeting up. Dorian walks into the Divide where Arya and Crescendo are having a conversation about a gig that they want to try to take on. And then Jake just shows up and is there now. And that's how that goes. his introduction is fun. He ends up like sitting beside a conspiracy uncle character who's talking about corruption in the Council of Human Elders. And Jake's just very patiently and very excitedly engaging with that conversation. And the curator is just there to help you understand, to invite you into the story. I want to go back to that part where I had pants, though. That's my favorite part. Yeah, I should probably explain how I got this to work, actually. So what I did was I had myself, I just recorded myself in my living room. I have a green screen set up out there as well. And then when I went to transition between sitting down there and then standing in front of the meta multiverse background, I took the last frame of my standing up and I gave it to Sora, OpenAI's video thing, video generator. And I told it to expand reality so that we end up at the first frame of the next part. And it decided to make me look really awkward and give me light blue pants that are seemingly unzipped and shadow shoes or something. I don't know, but it actually did really well with getting the graphic of my t-shirt. That was pretty good. I'm very impressed by that. But yeah, this still right here is why I'm keeping this in, even though I don't own a pair of pants like that. Absolutely ridiculous that I came up with that, and I love it. So that's going to stay in. Let's see. So the other thing, I'm going to be all over the place today, I can tell already. But the other thing is going to be this little window that I set up over here to show you my synthesizer. And I've got one for when we do the synthesizer and Logic at the same time. But I figured I'd show you, I'm using the Korg Minilogue, which is an analog synthesizer with some digital processing and digital interface. It also has an oscilloscope right here, so if I play it, you can see the waveform. And you should be able to hear that too. Let me know if you can't. That'd be very good information to have. So I already set up a patch when I was hanging out with my friend the other day, my co-captain. I created what is going to be like the foundation, the sound of the meta multiverse. And I can pull that up. My friend Raven says that they can hear it. Perfect. That is great. So let me find the patch for the meta multiverse. There it is. All right, so this is what I imagine the meta multiverse sounds like. That kind of thing. And if we go to this right here, and we just, I don't know, choose a random excerpt and start playing it. This is the stage upon which your story is told. Although it may seem to be in a much smaller context for you, the little window, the drop in the ocean, or so you think. Being an ocean within an ocean within an ocean of oceans. The reason I brought you here is to show you the multiverse of Aether. You might have heard of it. And so on. So we're going to see what we can do today to add some sounds, add some layers, create and compose a score for our video here. So in the Minilogue, you can save different patches and it'll automatically bring that back up. Like this one, the suspicious staccato that I made, where when you hold it down, the note is very short. But if you press it real quick, it's a lot longer. the opposite of what staccato is supposed to be. So that one's fun. There's another one that's fun in here if you like looking at the oscilloscope, but I imagine it's very small on your screen. Maybe I'll get around to that. I don't know. Okay, so here's what I was thinking. Here's something that we could do. In the very beginning, I'm sitting on my couch. You still don't know anything's weird yet until we get to the point where reality melts, which I think is over here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, man, that looks ridiculous. Here, let me show you. I'll get this out of the way. Look at that. That is so wild. This is going to be absolutely ridiculous, having all these stills of my AI-generated face all over the place. There goes my eye. You know, my eyes are green. Look at that.
BO. Sorry about that.
And then I just apologize. So I got to figure out what I'm going to put in there, but I was thinking in the beginning, what we could do is we could take this synth patch that I have, which I can show you over here, and start dismantling it and then slowly build it back into itself. When we get to the later sections, when we start talking about what the multiverse actually is and why the curator has invited you here. Now, this performance in the recording, me being the curator, was completely improvised. So it's got a different energy from what I anticipate the rest of the series will have. But trying to plan for the future of this particular thing is absolutely ridiculous. It feels like the kind of thing that's going to exist the way it wants to. And I'll just have to accommodate it along the way. So if we take a look at the synth real quick, one thing that we can do when we go to the Meta Multiverse patch. Okay, I like that octave better. We can go ahead and take an interval. What interval captures this intro the best? Would it just be one note? Would it be an octave? Would it be the fifth? Would it be the lower fifth? That actually sounds pretty good. I want to try the minor third real quick. No, that's definitely for when things escalate, when things get more complicated. We need something a little cleaner, a little less nuanced, a little less interesting, I think, for the very beginning. The fifth is pretty good. The octave, I think, is too bright. The fourth, I think, might be the best one. Yeah, definitely start simple, because it ramps up in concept pretty quickly after reality melts and everything. So there is that. I think starting with the fourth is actually really cool, because we start with a little bit, it feels like maybe a little unsettling, but not necessarily in the way where you're uncomfortable, but in the way where you feel like there's somewhere to go, like you're being led somewhere. Because what it wants to do is go up to the fifth. And then it would go up to the octave. So if we start on the fourth, I can hold my hand there while I play around with all of these other parameters, like the cutoff filter. that's a great way to start it. So let's see how that goes. I'll bring up this, maybe move this over here so you can see that as well. And then we'll give it a try.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is, well, looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta-multiverse, the space between everything, where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason. How to put it? I don't usually intervene in the stories that fill this space.
That could be an interesting way to start it. Of course, we would add something for the reality melting bit. That could be an interesting thing to do, though. Let's try one more thing. We'll try this.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be
And then we'll add something for that.
Sorry about that.
Maybe what we could do is actually do like...
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is...
That'd be cool. I could do that with one hand and then control this as well.
Yeah.
Let's try that again. We'll start closed on the cutoff and then we'll slowly open.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is... well, looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta-multiverse, the space between everything, where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason.
That'd be crazy. Have like a oscillating drone, becoming brighter and more muted, filling the space. And then what we could do is like, we could have that as a foundation. And then to color the audio that's happening, the things that I'm saying, what we could do is add different notes, or we could add the same note but different sounds. Depends on how we want to build up on top of everything. So I'll be able to perform that with one hand, do the effects with the other, and then we'll see what we do here. Looks like the synth. Okay, so that's just that channel, which means I need to change the input to input 2, so it stops picking up my mic and it's picking up the synthesizer. Okay. So I need to do... Did that select this guy? Yeah, it did.
You've arrived.
Okay, still in sync. It'll give me time to switch over. Okay, cool. So here we go. Make sure. Okay. Let's lay the foundation. We'll turn that off. Make sure that's not going to do anything. They just updated Logic to 11 now, so still trying to see what's different. They got a lot of stuff that I can't use because I don't have the hardware for it, but let's see.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is... well, looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta-multiverse, the space between everything, where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason. How to put it? I don't usually intervene in the stories that fill this space. But there was something about yours that I thought was very special. I thought it was very interesting. You exist in a world plagued by doubt and corruption and fear, where imaginations are used to tear you down, to make the future seem impossible. Your imagination is limitless. Your imagination determines your reality, determines what's possible. So I figured I'd bring you here and show you a story that you might like. Set in a world very similar to your own, though perhaps a little more in line with fantasy, where you're from. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The space between the stars. This is the stage upon which your story is told. Although it may seem to be in a much smaller context for you, the little...
I want to stop there because what I'm going to do is use that to lead into the main performance of the synthesizer with the revealing of the meta-multiversal space where the stories are infinitely interconnected. But in the meantime, in the beginning, let's see how that played out.
You've arrived.
A little too late. Let's see. So we have...
You've arrived.
That there. If we bring... Actually, if we bring all of this back a little bit.
You've arrived.
A little more. We'll see how it lines up.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun. Let's figure out what to do for that. That one's going to be crazy. So we got this section here.
Maybe... Oh. Maybe... Oh.
We're going to go a little after.
Maybe... Oh.
A little before.
You may be... Oh.
And now what we're going to do is we're going to add another layer. So we're going to go ahead and create a new audio track, just like this one. We're going to make sure that we're using input 2, so it's actually the synthesizer and not my voice. We'll rename it Synth 2. I just made my desktop brighter by accident because I can't reach keys very well. I'm just very awkward about it. All right. Cool. So when we get to this point, do we want to expand on the same sounds? Like we could do something like, I don't know.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You
that
may
could
be...
lead
Oh.
into that could lead into the having an octave over the next part too, if we wanted to do that one. So we could do...
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be one...
We can do something like that. That could be good. Let's try that. We'll arm that one for record. We'll start back here. We'll hit the record button. I'll turn the cutoff low. We'll bring it in.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that.
That wasn't good.
You may be wondering...
Competing with something. I'll tell you what that something is. And that is an envelope generator affecting the positioning of the cutoff. So if I turn that over here, we do. Turn the LFO, turn that off. Could do it to pitch. No, we don't want that. That'll be easier to work with. Okay. Yeah, delete that. We don't need it. Here we go. We'll go back here a little bit. We'll just add that, and then we'll see, because this thing does a lot of really crazy stuff. So we'll see how weird we want to make it. Let's try that again.
And welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is...
There we go. That's something. Let's see how that goes.
And welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so I'm actually going to take the synthesizer. We're going to create a track stack. It will be, if I can get this out of the way, it'll be a summing stack. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll do a sum stack so that we can address all of these, the levels and effects and everything all together at the same time. So one thing that we can do is, after we have laid a very, very basic foundation, we can either go to build on it some more in the context of this synth layering, or we can use the abilities that we have access to in Logic to make it sound even more wild. So for example, we could do...
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that.
I want to move... I'm going to click down here. I want to move this over just a little bit.
Yo. Sorry about that.
So this is right. Is that?
Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Okay, so if we go down to this track, we press A, we access our layers of automation. That'll go up here in this little corner. What we can do is go here to audio synth 2 for the volume. We have the automation happening on the track. What I want to do is bring this down just a little faster.
Maybe... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you...
Maybe a little more gradual too.
Maybe... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
That feels a little better.
Oh. Sorry about that.
So there are so many things we can do, so many ideas to explore. And setting everything up like this with the summing stack will help us work with both of these together. So for example, if we wanted some wild reality breaking thing, we could do that, but I don't really want to break reality. I'd rather melt it and have it be confused. Your sense of ground completely disoriented. Me in my face over here. I look so concerned. I look so concerned. All right, got a comment. My friend says, it looks like you got pulled into one of the other levels of the metaverse and came back. Maybe a short blip of audio that sounds like it came from another world. Yeah, that's a great idea. So I was thinking, let's actually take a look at the synth for a little bit here. So we can do a lot of, like I was saying, wild things. And some of the patches that are built into it give really great examples of what it's capable of doing. So for example, there's one in here which is just absolutely wild. And I made one as well, which I really like. Just got to figure out where it is because I didn't write down all of the patches that I have. I think it's around here though, because I remember Unwilling was a good one. outer space would be pretty wild there. Cosmic love. That'd be crazy if it was like reversed. Magic spells. Oh yeah, here's an example of something ridiculous. Yeah. So we could do something like that. What I'm thinking is let's see, I made something on here that I thought was pretty good. Oh yeah, the noise program. That one, for example. That'd be crazy to have in there. Let's see what that's like. I'm actually gonna, the way I have this set up, it uses the cutoff filter and the resonance ability to change the emphasized pitch on a noise generator. So it sounds like it has a pitch, but it's not actually, it is generating that pitch, but it's generating all of them because it's noise. But it's set up for the velocity to change the features of the cutoff. So you can hit the same key and get a ton of different pitches and sounds out of it. But if we turn that off, we end up with that kind of sound, which would be pretty crazy, especially with the layering of the noise. What we could end up doing is inserting the message or the whispering or the speaking or whatever I want to throw behind there when you accidentally look into the eyes of the curator for the first time. We could play around with that. So this one would actually be pretty fun. I think this could be good. Let's see. We pull ourselves back over here. We can go ahead and back up a little bit.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is...
That'd be crazy. Yeah, that looks ridiculous. Especially if you put it on a new track and then edit it inside of Logic. Now, should we do one? Yeah, maybe. What would it be, though? What sounds the best?
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that.
Let's see.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that.
I love how long it lasts, too. Because I got the delay just going crazy with it. That could be good. Let's see.
And welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This...
Should it be 2 notes? Or should it be 4 notes? That would be wild. Because if you're unfamiliar with the multiverse of Aether, it exists in a world that has a creation theory of its very own based on the idea that 4 words were spoken at the beginning of the multiverse. These 4 words were exist, and the multiverse began. The second was change, and it grew. The third was observe, it saw itself, and the fourth was connect. It manifested. So having 4 notes in there would be significant, metaphorically. Phorically. I like that. Okay, anyway.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering...
But then we have to ask ourselves... I like that sound. That was pretty crazy. Would that work? That could be good. And then we can play around with it too. So let's go ahead and make a new audio track. We're going to put it in the summing stack. This is going to be synth 3. Just to keep up the naming convention. This one will have armed for record. That one is the summing track. We don't need that. We need this. Okay, so how do we want to line this up? Here's what we can do.
Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
I don't know what I would do if I saw this and I hadn't made it. This looks ridiculous. All right, let's just give that a try. We'll see what it sounds like when I'm not focusing on performing it.
And welcome. You may be... Oh. You may be wondering where...
Ah, I see what happened. Audio track is defaulted to input 1. I need to be input 2. Let's try that again.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
I accidentally hit the wrong note, but I think that's really good because there's a secret 5th word that nobody knows about. But everybody knows about it, just subconsciously. So there's that as well. Okay, let's see. From the very beginning, let's see what this video is like.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is... Looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its...
Okay, nice. I think that's interesting. I think we can work with that, actually. All we have to do is balance the levels. This obviously has to come down a bit.
Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
And then what we'll do is go into automation. We'll make sure that... get out of here. We don't need that. We'll make sure that these two fade to the same point.
You may be wondering where you are.
There you go. That sounds better already. Okay, so here we go.
Maybe... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
And now the other thing that we can do as well is we can make a new audio track, drop that in the sum stack as well. This will be reverse synth. So we can actually take, we don't need to look at automation right now. And actually take the latter part of this one, this part right here. We can, why am I doing that? I'm going to do it this way. Copy, undo the cut, go down here. Before we even get started, we'll go ahead and paste it, and then we'll shorten it here. It does not have to be that long. What we can do here is pull this up. It is a new thing, basically. So we're going to go into File, Functions, Reverse. So now hopefully, yeah, it did work. Okay, there we go. So now when we listen to this by itself, okay, cool. We should be able to work with that. Shorten that some more. We can have it lead in.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be... Oh.
Okay, so now that we have that, just a little bit of automation as well. Looks like it was trying to take care of all that copied and paste and everything. We don't need that. We actually need it to come from nothing to come in.
You may be... Sorry about that.
Oh, I see what it did. Okay. Let's undo all of that. No, okay, fine. I see how it is. Doesn't want me to do it that way, so we'll try it again. Try it again as always. We'll make it right. Delete. Record. Get rid of automation. We don't need to see that right now. Okay. Here we go.
You may be... Sorry about that.
I hit the wrong key because I didn't give myself enough time. Delete in. Let's try it again.
And welcome. You may be...
I hit the wrong key again. Sorry. Like I said, I've never done this kind of thing before, so I'm figuring it out as we go along. Okay. Wait for that, and then we go...
Welcome. You may be... Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
Okay, there we go. Now we leave that alone, and we go down to audio 6, which is going to be the reverse synth. And we'll make a new audio file for that. We don't have to put it anywhere in particular, so we're just going to make sure that we have the right one armed for record. We're going to go for that one, or... I love that. Okay, let's try it again. Of course, again, I really need to figure out how to change the default for that. Input 2, so many steps. Go ahead and record.
Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
That's it. That's all we need. So now we cut this. We don't even need the transient in the beginning. We just need the background. We have a whole new file, RevSynth number 2, which we'll put right here. Then we'll go to File. Then we'll go to Functions, Reverse.
And welcome. You may be...
Okay, so we need to cut it there.
You may be...
Turn this all the way down. Grab some volume automation. So we're going to have this come in much more gradually here.
And welcome. You may be... Sorry about that. And welcome. You may be... And welcome. You may be... Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
Yeah, that's just confusing and weird. Does that sound otherworldly? I'm not sure. But it sounds like something, which is pretty much what I was going for. Something, at least. So I think that's pretty good. Now all we have to do is just whatever we want. So what if we took this, we went into reverb, we checked out Space Designer Mono to Stereo. We'll do that. We can go into our large spaces again. I kind of want to try warped spaces just to see what that's like. And this one's called Alien Chatters. Like, that's got to be wild. Oh, whoops. We don't need that there, so that's fine. Okay. So we'll solo this. Oh, wow. That is really interesting. Let's do... ooh, boy, they have so many options. Mystery taps. No, pixelating. That looked cool. Textures. Pixelating. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Now all we have to do is make sure these are good. Okay, cool. So we got that. I think that is fine enough for a place to be for now. All I want to do is go into... where is that button now? Man, it's been a while. Here we go. I want to go to the fade tool, or the audio clip. We're going to fade... Oh, up here was where we need to do it. Right? No, I have to do this. There we go. And if I do that, then what I can do, grab all of this and move this over just a little bit. Cool. All right. In that case, this is what we have for our little reality melting thing.
And welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that.
And what I can do too, to try to play around with it, maybe. It depends. I think maybe what I want to do is take this audio file here, see what we can do. So what if we, no, I don't think that would sound good. I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'll just leave it alone for now. I'm not going for perfection. I'm going for, hey, I did something. Look at it. It's really cool.
You've arrived.
So that part I want to address.
You've arrived.
We'll take down the transient.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is...
That's wild. Okay. So anyway, I made a little thing. Now I guess we could take a moment to look at what time it is, see how long I've been doing this, see if I need a break or not, and then decide what to do from there. Yeah, I should probably take a break in a little bit. I want to talk about, just real quick, what I want to have in the midst of this, because what I'm going to do later, because right now I'm just like showing you the very basics. We're trying to set up, lay the foundation and everything. I think I'm going to do all of the small details and clean it up a little bit as we go along in the process. So I'll probably do that by myself, but we'll see. We'll see how people are feeling. Yeah, so we have that part. What to say there, though, is the only thing. I want to try to line it up so it's a little more satisfying, too. So I think maybe you could do...
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think we could re-record that. Let's take a look at the automation. Okay, that's fine. Let's try it in a new audio track. I forget what it is to we're not recording on both of them, even though it might want me to. Input 2 is what we need. Go up an octave. Turn off the velocity. Yeah, it just sounds ridiculous. Why is it changing the note? Okay, let's try this out. This should work. Let's try to line up. You can't even see my face over here. Here, there we go. That should make it easier.
You may be...
It's that's not the note. That's not the note that I pressed. What are you doing? All right, let's try this again.
You may be... Sorry about that.
Okay, let's try this again. I don't know why it's giving me so many problems now. I'm going to have it tuned. I'll reload the patch. I'll deactivate the parts that are doing that. And then we'll see what happens. In the meantime, anybody feel like saying how they're doing today? I am so curious. I love existing just generally, but I also love existing in spaces like this where I can't even see any details about you except for the words that you share. But I hope that things are going well for you. I really hope that. We all deserve some good things and some good vibes every now and then. Like the curator said, the world is plagued by doubt and fear. My friend Mac Attack says, I am currently existing. Well, thank you for existing. I really appreciate that. I'm very glad that you do. It's hard sometimes. So I appreciate you still being around. Okay. So it's done tuning. The noise program. We'll turn the velocity down, the key tracking up. And then we'll go over to okay, I got it to work that time. So let's let it die out. Having fun as always. Yeah, having fun is really cool. It's cool that we have that option sometimes. I really like it. Okay, let's try this again.
And welcome. You may be... Sorry about that.
Okay, it did the thing again. I don't know why it's being temperamental. Probably for the fact that it does that. That's just how it goes. It's not a digital synth, so it doesn't perform the same every time. In fact, one of my songs, which I have on SoundCloud, is only the way it is because of that very thing. I recorded it enough times to get the artifact that wasn't supposed to be there every time it would have come up. And that became what the song sounded like. It wasn't supposed to sound like that in the beginning. You just work with what you have. So let's see how this goes.
And welcome. You may be...
Hey. What button did I press that time? I don't know. Let's try it again. And then maybe I'll take a break after that. Let you all get some water. Use the bathroom. Although I imagine that's a lot easier when you're not streaming. When you're watching someone, you can use the bathroom however and whenever you want. Well, relatively however. Some ways of using the bathroom, I imagine, would not allow you to watch something. I can always get it when it's not recording. Okay. Let's see.
Patience and welcome. You may be... Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is...
Okay. All right. There we go. That was pretty good. Let's see if it works any better. Especially if we bring this over here. Yeah, actually, right there should be good.
You may be... Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This...
Yeah, that was pretty good. I like that. We're going to go ahead and delete this one here. Delete. We don't need it. Let's move this up to right there. We'll delete this audio 7 track because we don't need that anymore. And we'll unmute that. So now we got to look a little closer here. Make sure these two line up pretty well. So we'll just solo that. And then I want to take the automation here, and I want to bring that out a little more naturally in line with this synth as well. So right here, from here to here, we bring it down. Those aren't lined up, but I don't think they have to be, honestly. Let's double check. From the beginning.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is... Well, it looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta multiverse, the space between everything, where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason.
That was pretty cool. I actually had the thought while we were listening to it to continue speaking on a grand stage up until this point right here where I say, I brought you here for a very specific reason, and then don't immediately explain it as if I did not prepare to explain that to you, which I think is hilarious. Because that is very much how it felt when I was there. I was like, oh man, how am I going to make this feel smooth and interesting if I don't even know what I'm about to say? And I say, hey, I'm about to say something. I do that all the time when I'm running games of D&D.
You are now standing in the meta multiverse, the space between everything, where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason. How to put it? I don't usually intervene.
Okay, interesting. You know, this isn't quite what I imagined, but what I imagined is not much different, honestly, now that I think about it. So there is that. There was an idea that I wanted to do. It involves the summing stack and an audio effect on the summing stack. That one was modulation, a rotor cabinet with the where would I want to, I don't know. We'll get to that in a second. How about we take a look at the full cam? You see my face behind this microphone, of course. I'm going to take a break real quick, if that is okay with you all. And if it isn't, then I don't know why that would be. I hope you're feeling okay if it's not okay that I take a break. But nonetheless, I'll be back in just a little bit. Just got to walk around, drink some water. And then we'll see what I do with this next idea. And then go from there. See what we want to do, what we're feeling. I might end up doing the main body of the multiverse, the meta multiverse sound, and then maybe I'll do another stream tomorrow if I'm feeling up for it. Or we'll just see what happens. But in the meantime, feel free to get some water. Take a little bit of a break. I'll be back in just a little bit. In fact, I have a little screen that says I'll be back, so I'll be back. but this time you can hear me. Hello. I hope you're doing well, whether you're here with me a few seconds from where I am because of light and how that has to travel, or watching this at some later point in the future, like a couple of my friends said that they would want to. Good to have you here. I'm glad you exist. But we'll see what we get into now. I had an idea. I wanted to introduce a rotor cabinet, but I think what I want to do is actually not put it on the summing stack. What I want to do is send it to a bus. So someone is bus 1. We're going to send it to bus 2. It's not going to be as loud. I'm going to make sure we turn that down. But on bus 2, we're going to have a rotor cabinet. So what I'm going to do is see if soloing bus 2 works. It does not. No, it might. Let's turn this up. Okay, so here we go. Okay. I might actually just put it on the synth track because this sounds really cool. It's really helpful if you have headphones on for this part, but sounds pretty wild. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Let me show you. I did a little bit of working around with it. I got something that's pretty cool. Let me share it with you. So that is just the affected audio. If we introduce the dry signal, which is the original, dry is unedited, unaffected. This is what we get. A little bit of a layer that we can actually work with some more too. Now if we establish a looping region, what we can do is play around with this even more. So if we wanted to do delay designer, stereo, complex filtered, filter pan delay. And now if we hear just the bus, sounds very spooky, ethereal. Making it persist, kind of like a memory, until the memory fades. Could be a good combination. We could have the automate the bus send on the sum track so that we can pull that down whenever we want or need to. But I think what I'm going to do is unsolo that and unsolo the bus. And then take a look at it from the beginning for just the intro.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is... Well, looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta multiverse, the space between everything, where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason. How to put it? I don't usually...
Okay. There you go. It's got a very, very unique, very silly, very ethereal vibe going on. Forgot I don't have my synthesizer in the shot. That's fine. I'm not using it right now. Cool. Well, I just talked to my friend. My friend is here hanging out. She says that it sounds fun. My friend CChat93. Chat93. I like that. It says, hello, sorry for being late to the stream. How's it going so far? A very good question. Hello, it's okay. You don't have to apologize, but I appreciate your doing so. Going pretty well. I can show you the video that we have so far, or at least the first part of it. This is episode 0 of the Aether Series. We just developed and decided on a drone, like a pad and a oscillating synth bed for the introduction. We've built out a few other things. I've added some effects on some of the vocal lines. I have not balanced these levels or anything, but there is one part where reality melts. I'll show you that real quick.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so that's how reality melts. And I just used my, here, I'll show you. Used my Minilogue to generate the tones and the sounds to add some presence to that. So if we bring this over here, this little guy in the corner, my friend, my pet. Oh, there we go. My little pet screamer, I guess, makes noises like that. That's hanging out while we listen to what it's done so far, which sounds severe. But anyway, here we go.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is... Well, looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the meta multiverse, the space between everything, where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason. How to put it?
And then it goes on from there to explain the multiverse of Aether and the kind of adventure that you're getting into, where you realize that your reality is, the bounds of your reality is determined by your willingness to imagine. Which is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. Maybe I'll share some of the script that I have prepared. See what you think. But yeah, that's what we've made so far. The secret fifth word.
You've arrived. Congratulations.
My friend says it looks great so far. Thank you.
You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are.
You may be wondering where you are. It looks like my living room. It's not. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how I come up with these things. And yet here I am using my lifetime of skills to put together something that hopefully is fun. All right. Aside from wanting to figure out what to say during that part, because I think that's going to be super important, I might save that for after the stream, like in between now and posting the video. Which, you know, since I've never done this before, really, I don't know how long that's going to take. But, you know, if you follow me on Twitch, you need to make an account to be able to do that. But whenever I go live, it'll send you a message letting you know. I also have here, let me show you. I have some links here. This is the stuff I talk about. You can actually find a way to communicate with me directly through the Patreon. I've got a link for free uh, to the Discord server that I've set up for all of my games and all of my friends and things. That's patreon.com/Darian Thomas is where you can find that. I also have a ton of other stuff up there, and I'm going to be sharing the original like outlines, like the scripts for each of these episodes on the Patreon for paid members. It's $3 a month. And then I also have like other things that I offer there as well. It's really cool. It's a great way to help me continue to do this, especially with students going on vacations. My income's going to be less than it usually is, which is unfortunate. But that would be a great way to help me continue making ridiculous things like this. I'm also going to be posting this video on YouTube at youtube.com/DarianT. That's where the VODs are going to go. I want to make sure that those are public as well. I really don't like putting things behind a paywall. So that's why the game that I made, We Are Gods, is also payment optional, which you can get on patreon.com as well, /Darian Thomas. You can get the game that I made that I'm going to be including in the video stuff too. But if we go back over here, we can take a look at the other stuff that we have going on. I think this part for now is actually just fine. I think it's fine. Cool little thing. Feels like you've realized something and then forgotten. And then all of a sudden we're talking about the meta multiverse, and it sounds like we're, like my friend put earlier, falling into a black hole, which just sounds ridiculous. What do we do after that is the question. Now, do we keep it simple while the message takes the front of the stage, or do we layer ideas upon it? Now, I think probably for the next like AI transition. Oh, by the way, CChat93. Look at this. Look at this ridiculous thing. This is the other one. The first one, that reality melting thing, that was generated by an AI based on the first and last frames of the surrounding video. This is another one, and this one is my personal favorite because it makes me look so ridiculous. All right, watch this.
The space between the stars.
I love that. I love watching that every time. It's just me floating through space in my light blue denim jeans, looking awkward. I do look vaguely like a person, but my right arm is way too long. I don't think that should be happening. I don't know. It just looks ridiculous, and I love it. So that's why I kept it. I had an idea to go back and actually, I have footage of me walking into frame in front of my green screen. So I was going to have it like do the effect where I stand up and then reality folds in on itself and expands infinitely into the meta multiverse, and then I walk in front of it. But the fact that I'm riding in on a cosmic wave of real material, wearing light denim jeans and hunched over, I couldn't say no to that. So now that's what it is.
The space between the stars. This is the stage upon which your story is told. Although it may seem to be in a much smaller context for you, the little window, the drop in.
And then it stops there. But what I'm considering doing, if I pull up the Logic with Synth and Cam, so you can see me and my synthesizer at the same time. So that was 184. I think the Metamult is pretty close by. That's the other way. It's further past. Oh yeah, I just went to a random thing and put it there. That's why it's so far away. Oh yeah, I want to show you this. This oscilloscope here. I made a patch. So when you play a note, it looks like a dancing DNA strand. Sounds cool too, but that's what that one was for. I was just playing with light, basically turning electric vibrations into a recognizable pattern. Why is that one there too? I don't know. Here we go. I just got to figure out which one. I should have written them down, but you know, that's why we're here. To figure things out. Where is the metamult? There we go. 179. I should have remembered that. Anyway, what I was doing before was I was manually adjusting the cutoff frequency to make it feel more open or more closed, more present or more subdued. But when we get to the actual space of the metamultiverse, which is just a recording of the environment at the Unity in Starfield, what we end up with is that's what we have being performed in the background. So what we can do is actually find out the point where we want to transition to that.
Space between the stars.
So maybe, look at me, looking awkward. This AI generated me. That's what I look like. The clip keeps going, but I didn't need the whole thing. I didn't need it to be that long. And it's got, I don't even know what it does. It's some weird, like my hair is throwing me around or something. It's very strange. But if we bring this back here, we can zoom in as well. Me and my fake pants. Going through the meta multiverse, looking excited to talk to you, and then cuts there. So if we bring this back here, there we go. What we can do is have it come in right at that point.
The space between the stars. This is the stage.
What? So I want to try to match that. So let's see. That could be good.
Space between. Space between the stars. This is the stage upon which your story is told.
That's where it would be. Okay, so it would be
space between the stars. This is the stage upon which your story is told. Although it may seem to be in a much smaller context, a little window, the drop in the ocean. So being an ocean within an ocean within.
And then we can actually pull it back a little bit maybe, but let's go ahead and try recording that. What track do we want to put it on? It doesn't really matter because all of these are basically the same. They have no effects on them. Because they're all in a sum track, which does all of that for them. So let's zoom out a little bit here so that we can see what's coming up and how long we want to do this. And then we'll play around with the idea of altering it in Logic rather than in the actual performance of the synthesizer. So we'll go to Synth 2, we'll go to that track, we'll arm it to record. That is in the midst of me standing up while reality folds. You can see here, for example, I don't have a head. My head is cosmic material at that point, I suppose. I don't know what happened to my hand, but It did pick up the fact that I was wearing black pants here, which is one of my favorite things, because then I show up in light blue denim pants, and apparently that's just where we are now. It's just like, that's what I have on. So for the rest of it, it's like canon that the curator wears light blue denim pants whenever they stand up into the meta multiverse. But when they're sitting down, they just have athletic shorts on. I don't know. This is just really silly. All right. Cool. Let's give this a try. So these are the notes that I need to play. And this is when I need to play them.
Or in line with fantasy, where you're from. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The space between the stars. This is the stage upon which your story is told. Although it may seem to be in a much smaller context, a little window, the drop in the ocean, so you think. Being an ocean within an ocean within an ocean of oceans. The reason I brought you here is to show you the multiverse of Aether. You might have heard of it. More likely than not, you haven't. The multiverse of Aether is a world seemingly designed for people to come into their power, to realize that their imagination directly impacts reality. It changes the course of history. We're going to follow a few characters. Characters that hopefully you'll come to enjoy. They find themselves on a bit of a quest. Chance encounter, leading to something, leading to something, leading to something, leading to something else. And it keeps on going. Did you know the story of these adventurers, these Indians, they make their way here too, in a very different way. They will be here by invitation, like the band. But they find themselves here along the path they choose to take. In the beginning, they have a lot to learn, but as they go on, they figure it out. They realize that they do have the power to define their realities. Something inherent, baked into the very nature of consciousness itself, the very nature of people. But their world is in the midst of growing distance, plagued by corruption and doubt and fear, just like yours. But they find divine, as they come to call it, and they use that to counter the dissonance, to see it, to understand it, to explore it, to save their world from collapse. And while they have spells, swords, I'm sure they'll come across very powerful things. They use the same thing that you have access to. The same things. Hope, optimism, love. But very naturally, this journey will evolve as it continues, as it builds upon itself, as it shows you the power that you possess as well, potentially infinite. And I'm sure you'll find a way to help you. Because it won't be possible without the light, just like everything else you do. And there are ways. The creator of this, the meta multiverse, being the multiverse of Aether, they have ways for you to support them. And I know they will be very good with help. I hope you come to understand that the fabric of reality, the details, the ideas, the concepts, the beings that tie it all together to make this communication between us possible. I hope you realize it is inherently inevitable. It wants to see us succeed. It wants to see our adventurers succeed together. Now, I am a character, among many others. My role is very unique. I hope to see you in the adventures. But in the meantime,
and I'll change it there as well. But during that part, I think it'll be pretty much the same thing, but we'll affect it and add some variation. And when the characters come up, I remembered at one point which instrument they each play, but I have since forgotten. So what I'm going to do is settle on that again. I have to rewrite the scripts for the first couple episodes. But I'm going to settle on that again, and then I'm going to introduce those instruments while they're performing. I'm going to layer that over top of it at some point. I think I had it so that Jake, no thank you, plays violin. Crescendo, I think, sings. The hat, whose name is Trash as well, plays drums, or at least used to. Can't really do it as much being a hat now, unfortunately. I think Dorian might play drums too. I haven't decided, but drums, singing, guitar, violin. I think that's like the main thing. So we'll come up with something to throw in here for these parts. I'll probably do that tomorrow, whether I stream it or not. But let's see. That's that's the foundation for the whole thing. And then we just have the ending when the multiverse of Aether shows up. And actually, what I want to do for that is I wrote, when I was doing a playthrough of the multiverse of Aether, because I do that. I do offer that. Depending, I'm much more picky about the people I offer it to these days. Because the last group was very weird in the way that they approached our whole relationship. So a little more picky about it these days. But I composed a melody for the introduction of the series because I had that up on YouTube. I took it down because I didn't really want to have that floating around, remnant in my personal space. But I still have all of I have all the recordings and everything, but I still have the theme and everything there. So I'm thinking about bringing that back and then having it kind of muted in a very open space. And then have that crescendo into something. I'm thinking about having at this point where it consumes the screen and it goes dark. I'm thinking about changing that to have an end card, inviting people to check the description for more information, but also to take a look at the Patreon stuff, because I also offer, nobody's taken me up on this offer yet, but I also offer just game nights where we get to play some random game that I come up with, usually some randomly generated adventure or something I put a little thought into using my own game system, We Are Gods. So I offer that, and then also some tarot readings as well, but nobody's asked me about that either. So I got a lot of stuff on there, but not all of it actually has been utilized. So if you're interested in any of that, you can go to patreon.com/Darian Thomas and reach out to me. Let me know what you want to do, because I'm here. I'm existing. Might as well have fun with it. And I'd love to share the journey with you, as I'm doing now. Okay, so that lays the foundation. We have a lot that we can do in the meantime. I want to check here, make sure this transition sounds good. So we'll lead up to it a bit.
A story that you might like. Set in a world very similar to your own, though perhaps a little more in line with fantasy, where you're from. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The space between the stars. This is the stage upon which your story is told. Although it may seem to be in a much smaller context, the little window, the drop in the ocean. Space between the stars. This is the stage upon...
Okay, there we go. So I'm going to put that back in the corner. We're going to zoom in here, because one thing that we have to do to make this sound good is make sure the transition is lined up right. We don't want a ton of overlap And if we do have overlap, we want to fade things in and out. So we have like a little section here. I think if we go back into automation, we can have this come down to nothing, and this come up to something. We'll just add that there. Let's solo the sum. So what we can do, bring this up, bring that up. There we go. That's much smoother. And then, of course, if we wanted to, we could go in here and add a bit of a fade out there just to make sure it doesn't just cut to nothing. There we go. Sounds even smoother. All right. So we have that transition to the main body of the Meta Multiverse sound, which means all we have to do is go through and decorate a few things. I want to make sure that I take parts of the dialogue, I guess, is it monologue really? And make different parts of it more pronounced using different effects and stuff, like we had with the space designer for "You Are in the Meta Multiverse," or "You're Standing in," which is funny because the camera looks like it's sitting down, so it's like I'm talking to someone who's really short. I thought about that, but I did not go back and fix it, so that's just what it is now. So we have the transition from my living room to the Meta Multiverse. We have that to figure out. We have the music for the characters, how we're going to add variation to that. Then we have the bulk of the message, which we can play around with as well. And then finally, we have the introduction and development of the multiverse of Aether in its isolated and transcendent context. And that really should be it for this whole thing. I've been streaming for 2 hours. That's usually about as much as I do at any given point. So I'll probably call it there and then pick this up either on stream tomorrow or on my own tomorrow. I'll probably want to stream it because this is a lot of fun and I like hanging out with you all. We rarely ever get to talk, so it's nice to share a space, knowing that somewhere there's another person, many other people, hanging out as well, having a good time and watching me do ridiculous things like flying through space with my denim jeans. I want to pull that up again. That was really funny. I don't know why I like that so much. There I go. With my long arm and my socks, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Riding in on a wave of cosmic matter. All right, well, how about this? We'll close out the stream by watching the whole thing and all the work that we did today from the very beginning, this 6-minute long episode 0 of the Aether series. And I'll tell you, I'm really excited about this. Really excited about everything that is coming up. I did a tarot reading at the beginning of this year, and it said that this month, when I'm making all of this, is the month of the Fool. So obviously I have a lot to learn and a lot to experience, and I'm very excited for it. So let's watch this one more time. I'll take my little synth out of the view here and expand this. And we'll see how it fits, how it feels, and if we like it. All right, here we go.
You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You may be... Oh. Sorry about that. You may be wondering where you are. This is... Well, looks like a living room, doesn't it? Couch and a tapestry. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance here. You are now standing in the Meta Multiverse, the space between everything. where all realities and all stories are interconnected. I brought you here for a very specific reason. How to put it? I don't usually intervene in the stories that fill this space. But there was something about yours that I thought was very special. I thought it was very interesting. You exist in a world plagued by doubt and corruption and fear, where imaginations are used to tear you down, to make the future seem impossible. Your imagination is limitless. Your imagination determines your reality, determines what's possible. So I figured I'd bring you here and show you a story that you might like. It's set in a world very similar to your own, though perhaps a little more in line with fantasy where you're from. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The space between the stars. This is the stage upon which your story is told. Although it may seem to be in a much smaller context, a little window, the drop in the ocean, so you think, being an ocean within an ocean within an ocean of oceans. The reason I brought you here is to show you the multiverse of Aether. You might have heard of it. More likely than not, you haven't. The multiverse of Aether is a world seemingly designed for people to come into their power, to realize that their imagination directly impacts reality. It changes the course of history. We're going to follow a few characters that hopefully you'll come to enjoy. They find themselves on a bit of a quest. Chance encounter, leading to something, leading to something, leading to something, leading to something else, and it keeps on going. Did you know the story of these adventurers is infinite? They make their way here too, in a very different way. The way that you have. You're here by invitation, like the rest. But they find themselves here along the path they choose to take. In the beginning, they have a lot to learn, but as they go on, they figure it out. They realize that they do have the power to define their realities. Something inherent, baked into the very nature of consciousness itself, the very nature of being. But their world is in the midst of growing dissonance, plagued by corruption and doubt and fear, just like yours. But they find good vibes as they come to find, and they use them to counter the dissonance, to soothe it, to understand it, to explore it, to save their world from collapse. And while they have spells, swords, and I'm sure they'll come across very many other things along the way, they use the same thing that you have access to. The same things: hope, optimism, love. But very naturally, this journey will evolve as it continues, as it builds upon itself, as it shows you the power that you possess as well, potentially infinitely. And I'm sure you'll find a way to help it. It won't be possible without the love, just like everything else we do. And there are ways. The creator of this, the meta-multiverse, me, the multiverse of Aether, they have ways for you to support them. And I know they would be very grateful for that. But I hope you come to understand that the fabric of reality, the details, the ideas, the concepts, the beings that tie it all together to make this communication between us possible. I hope you realize it is inherently benevolent. It wants to see us succeed. It wants to see our adventurers succeed together. Now, I am just a character among many others. My role is very unique, and I hope to see you in the adventures of the first. I hope you're there. But in the meantime, why don't we take a closer look at the multiverse of Aether? Before you go, just real quick, thank you for existing, truly.
And there you go. All the work that we did today, putting together a soundtrack for the Multiverse of Aether, the Aether Series, Episode 0. Up. There we go. Accidentally grabbed something. All right. Anyway, looks like we put that back, so that is good. We'll go ahead and save all the lovely work we did today. The funny thing is, looking at all this, it doesn't look like we did much, but we did so much today. Absolutely wild. Thank you. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Just wait until we're done with the edits and the rest of the variations, because I got some ideas. I got some ideas to work on, and some balancing to do. The mixing is going to be super important. It's going to completely change it once you can hear my voice a little more reliably throughout, as we sculpt the elements to fit together a little better. But yeah, so depending on how things go, depending on how I feel, I may very well be back streaming again tomorrow night, but we'll see. It's really hard to plan anything, just generally, but also because of the fact that all of this is so new to me. I've done all of the individual parts for a while now, but I haven't put it all together like I have here. I just want to check this real quick.
I brought you here for very...
That was a little better.
Is are interconnected. I brought you here for...
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, cool. So there you go. We'll take a look at my my face. My friend says that was cool. You're cool. Yeah. You're one of the coolest people I know. So take that, I guess, is what I'm saying. I don't know. But yeah, that'll be it for today. Thank you for being here. If you want to be notified of the stuff that I do, because I do my best, I reached out to a lot of people here independently, individually, because I was really excited and I wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity. If you want to make sure you have the opportunity, you can follow on Twitch. You need an account for that, but you can follow on Twitch. You can also go to my Patreon. You don't have to pay to join. I've got a ton of stuff for free members, because I know not everybody can afford that kind of thing. So I don't cut people out who don't have money. That doesn't make any sense. Or don't want to spend their money that specific way. Money is weird. But you can go there and find a link to the Discord if you wanted. I'll also be posting stream schedule there because of the fact that I don't have 50 followers and I haven't been streaming much on Twitch. I can't update you there. They don't let me have that feature. So it'll be elsewhere where I post things like this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep reaching out to everybody individually. So if you want to make sure you don't miss anything, patreon.com/Darian Thomas is the best way to stay in touch and to stay updated with that. If I've got the Discord link for free members. I know on Patreon usually they reserve Discord access to people who pay them. I think that's weird because I want to hang out with people who like the things that I'm doing. So why would I force you to pay me for that privilege? Doesn't make any sense. So yeah, ton of free stuff. Highly recommend it. This is going to go up on YouTube. That's youtube.com/DarianT. DARRIANT. You'll be able to find it there. If you missed the beginning or the end or any part of it, You'll be able to watch it back there. I thought about putting that for paid members as well, but that also didn't make any sense. So I'm not doing that. But if you want to see the original script, what this was supposed to be initially, so you can understand why I say I don't know what's going to happen or how it's going to play out. I'm going to be posting that probably tonight or tomorrow on the Patreon for the paid members. It's $3 a month is the lowest tier. And then I have some extra fun stuff for you if you happen to have extra money that you want to throw my way. If you wanted to be, I'll announce this here. If you wanted to be mentioned in a video, you know, a little shout out from the creator, you don't have to pay for that either. You can just let me know. Send me a text, be like, I want my name to be credited. I'll be like, yeah, you exist on the internet now. Congratulations if you haven't already. Yeah, so feel free to let me know. I would love to thank you in a much more formal way, I guess. I don't know. It can be fun. But in the meantime, I will thank you in a more immediate and literal way. Thank you. Thank you for existing, for being here, and for allowing me to experience all of these wild things. I really appreciate not only your support, but also your simple fact of being. I mention in this video here that I've been editing today with you that there are different ways for you to support me. Mention Patreon and stuff, but also just existing, being around, responding to a message if I happen to reach out to you. All of those things are profoundly valuable, and I'm deeply grateful to coincide with all of you. So thank you again. And I'll play a little song for a little bit, and then it'll be a hard cut to nothing when I stop going live. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Probably tomorrow, but keep an eye out. I'll let you know. I hope you have a good night or day or whatever the case may be. I hope life treats you well. And until next time.